Hello and welcome to Johncanfixanything. Today I'm going to show you how to install new shocks and struts for the front of your Mazda CX9. Now this process will work for 2007 to 2014 models. It also will carry over to your Ford Edge products as well. So if you want to know how to install this into your Mazda CX9, stay tuned. Before we get started, as I do with all my videos, I want to talk about safety. First of all, you're going to be dealing with a vehicle that weighs around 3,000 pounds or better. Make sure you're using the proper lifting equipment, the jack stands. Do everything properly, set them up properly, and be careful while you're doing it. When you're under the vehicle and around the vehicle, safety glasses. I say it every time on every one of my videos. This can save your eyesight, so make sure you're wearing a good pair of safety glasses. Now, as far as this kit goes, this is these are replacement strut and coil springs that I purchased off of eBay. This company's called Unity Strut Assembly. I have not used them before, so I will probably follow up with another video on the actual product itself. But they look really solid. They were very highly rated. I always do a lot of reading, a lot of research before I buy any kind of parts. I do it on Amazon. I do it off eBay, wherever I'm trying to get something from. I take a little time and I actually study. These had some very good ratings. I actually got to look at a couple of other videos with some different applications, and I liked what I saw. And once I got these in, they are very, very solid. They look as good or better than the ones that are on there from the factory. The reason I went with kits this time is because the last time I changed these out, my vehicle's got about 175,000 miles on it. So I've done it before, but I didn't change the springs out. So I really wanted to change the coil springs out. I wanted to keep it in assembly. It makes it so much easier to install, and plus the pricing has come down to the point now to where it doesn't really make a lot of sense to do the coil work, because these are just about as reasonable now in a unit as they are to just go ahead and pull the strut out and do all the coil compression and everything like that. So I went ahead and purchased this set for the front. They are a little different for each side because one has a couple of different welded on pieces for different types of cables, and the cables are in different positions. So you do have a front right, and it's actually marked right on the assembly, front right. The other one's marked front left. So when you get these in, they come in with some warnings on them. They come in with the new nuts that go on the top. Everything else is completely assembled, and the insides of them are all, they look really good. It's put together really solid, and I like the way it's done. I like the material that I see. So, from a first impression, just looking at them visually, I think they look pretty sharp. They come with an assembly instruction. It's actually not too bad. It actually gives you a pretty good layout of what the assembly is, what it looks like, how it's put together. It even shows you some of the connections and cabling. This is a better instruction that I'm used to seeing. Usually these instructions mean absolutely nothing. So this one is actually pretty good. It's got the installation guide on the back of it, and it's done in a couple languages. So I am going to look at that. I don't know if I'll be able to follow it all the way, but I'll try to comment on the end of the video. So I've got this set. I'm going to go ahead and get the vehicle brought in, get it jacked up and put on the jack stands, and then I will be back and we'll go forward with project. Because there's a couple of different things that are associated and attached to the strut and the spring, I'm going to go ahead and take the caliper off, caliper bracket, go ahead and take the rotor off, and plus the weight. I don't want to carry all that weight and let all that weight drop. So I'm going to go ahead and take this stuff off and just set it in underneath so I can get to this stuff better. I'm going to go ahead and take this bracket off so I can get to these larger bolts on the bottom of it, and I'll go ahead and get that done, and you can just kind of watch as it goes along, and if anything you need out of that, just let me know in the remarks. But it would be just like you were doing a standard brake job, and I've got a couple videos on that if you want to see how to do the brake job or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that stuff off so I can get to these bolts, and then there's some work we got to do on the top as well, so we can get to those 4 bolts on the top. So I'll go ahead and get with that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and took the rotor off, hung the brake caliper. Make sure you always do that, because these hoses on the brake calipers, if you leave the weight of that brake caliper on, you're eventually going to wear that hose out, which is a big mess and tough to handle. So make sure you keep those suspended. So now I can get to these bolts. These are 19s, so I got a 19 wrench, and I'm going to use my my larger socket here. Let's see if I can get this busted loose real quick. So there's two bolts, they're 19s, of course counterclockwise. I use a rubber mallet on them most of the time. You'd be surprised that a rubber mallet really works well on these things, better than the metal. Plus you don't have to worry about, you know, tearing stuff up. What I do recommend though is that you hit that with some WD-40, which I didn't do, so I will grab that right now and hit it with the WD-40. Should have done that in the first place, but forgot. I'm going to spray that down while I'm at it. And I put these on with a breaker bar last time, so they're on there. The torque specification is 150 pounds. So you can, I think it's 150 to 200 actually, so you can really put a lot of torque on them. Okay, got them loosened up. If they start turning, you're going to have to put a wrench on the other side. I've got a socket ready just in case. Most of the time they'll just come out by hand. And that top one will usually just slide right out. These are pretty hefty. You know, these are pretty hefty bolts. I always try to keep my top and bottom one aligned. On these, I can't remember if these are specific to the hole or not. I can't remember. I don't think they are, but I'll tell you in just a second. Before I take this second one out, I'm going to grab a round punch and I'm going to put it in that upper hole. That way I won't have to worry about it sliding out on me. But you can use anything you want. Just give yourself some stability there. And that way you can shake this lower one. You may have to tap it a little bit. Light's going out on me. Loosen. There we go. All right. Okay. All right. So that's loose now. Go ahead and I always like to put my bolts back together, my nuts and bolts, keep everything. Those bolts look the same. There's no difference in them, so it doesn't matter where they go on top or bottom. But on some applications they do, and you got to be aware of it. Okay, so now my shock is basically loose now. I can go ahead and go up on the top of the shock. There's some things up there that I've got to remove to get to the 4 bolts on top of the shock. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition the camera, and then we'll go ahead and do the top part. And before I leave, I forgot about this. This is the sensor for the ABS sensor that goes on the back. Okay, and then that mounts right there, which is in actually the lower assembly of your strut. So you've got this side over here, that's for your brake caliper, which is right here. That's for the hose. The hose goes right in there with a clip, and I've got that clip down there. This one is just plastic, and it just snaps out with a pair of pliers from the back. So take a little pair of pliers and you can go and just pop that right out. I'll do that real quick so you can see what that looks like. Remember that you've got a left and a right shock strut coil assembly. They are different. The left is different from the right because of these brackets, so don't forget that. And you can see that this is just a simple snap-in plastic. I used a pair of regular pliers. I just went into the back, grabbed a hold of it, and snapped it. So you got this one on this side, and it goes like that, and this one on this side, which is where your brake caliper hose fits right into there. And there's a metal clip that holds that on, and I'll show that when I put it back on. So that's what it looks like. And now it's loose. You got the two main bolts. You can see you're loose in there. Now I need to get up to the top and go ahead and get to the 4 bolts on the top. Okay, I am set up on the top of the engine now. And let me turn a little bit of light on here. Okay, so this is a little bit on the inside of the engine and a little bit on the outside of the engine. Okay, the little portion that's on the outside of the hood, I mean, is that you've got a little panel cover that has to be removed here to get to those 4 bolts on top of the strut. Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to go in here and actually take off your windshield wiper. And it's a 14 millimeter, and normally there's a little rubber cover over this. I don't know, somewhere along the line I must have lost mine, but there's a little rubber cover here, and that rubber cover you can just take it off with a screwdriver. Okay, but once you pull that little rubber cover off, then go ahead and get you a 14 millimeter. Okay, and you can just break this real easy with a 14 millimeter. It's not got a lot of tension on it. Okay, then go ahead and take that nut off, and this is spring loaded, so just kind of hold it down. Like that, and then just take your hand like that, and that should just come straight off, just like that. Set that out of the way. Keep that 14 millimeter nut with it, because it's a little bit different than some of the others. Okay, then what you do is, if you look right down here, you'll see a little plastic grommet right there with a Phillips. So you go ahead and take that little grommet out. And it's one of those ones that just goes, it kind of pulls up a certain amount, and then it stops. Okay, and you can easily pull that up with a flat tip screwdriver. There's what that little grommet looks like, and there's one pin on that one, so I got to make sure I put that back in right. Okay, put that with the other one as well. Now, when you get ready to pull this plastic cover off, you need to take this rubber piece off here. Okay, and it's got some grommets that hold this on. They're very, very easy to strip out, because I stripped one out the last time I did this job and I hadn't even replaced it. But if you look right here and right here, you'll see that grommet's missing. It's a little white grommet. You can go by your Mazda dealer and get it. You can't get it anywhere else, by the way. It's a dealer item. So if you just go right in underneath this, nice and easy, with a screwdriver, flat tip screwdriver, you can work these up out of here. See, like that. And really, you probably only need these 2. Yeah, no, you got to get one more. I'm sorry. So I'll go ahead and work that. Be careful with those, because when you break them, it's over. Okay. All right. So this is the little plastic cover right here. Now it's designed to come up and out, because it slides underneath the windshield right on the back. Okay, so you just pull it up, and then pull it out. Okay, and then I just usually use it to hold that rubber piece like that. Okay, and it looks pretty nasty in here. I'm probably going to have to clean this out. So that puts you directly in view of the four. These are the bolts that you need to change right here, and that's your wiper motor. And this cover doesn't have to be removed. You can remove it if you want to, but since I'm doing the whole unit, it doesn't matter that I'm not going to take that off. But if I was just doing the strut, you could take that cover off. So anyways, 4 bolts there. I'm pretty sure they're 14s. So I'm going to grab that same socket and I'm going to go ahead and get them all loosened up. And then you actually probably need a second person when you're taking that off. I'm going to ask someone to give me a hand with it, but I'm sure if you're strong enough you could reach underneath and hold it. But I'll be right back. Let's see if this is a 14. Yep, it's a 14. So go ahead. You may need a, no, it'll come off with a 3/8. I was going to say you might want a bigger socket, but might be better with a 1/2 inch, but seems like these are all right. Torque on these going back in, I think it's right around 100 pounds as well. They're torqued down pretty good. Okay, there's 4 of them, so you can take 2 of them completely out. Keep whichever one you want that you feel more comfortable with. I'll probably just keep this one right on the end, closest to me. Those are really good and loose already. Should be able to get all those out. And in the kit, I believe, I'm not sure if they come with 4 new nuts or not. I don't think they do. So you better keep these nuts. Okay, there's 3 of them. And just get this all the way up to the end. And I might give it a try by myself. Maybe a little try. If I can reach underneath here. Yeah, probably. Well, I'm not going to. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab another extra hand for this. Well, I grabbed it with my left hand and I was able to do it. You just kind of slide it out. Set it down on the base down here. Let me pull this off so you can see. Okay, so what I did is I just undid that other one and I held the spring right here with my right hand and I undid it with the left hand. So I was holding my hand right here and I just held up on it and went ahead and loosened it, and then I went and just set it right down on that lower ball joint, and that took the weight. So it's out that way. Then you can just go ahead and clear it. Everything's really clear, so you can just go ahead and take it out through the bottom, and then I'll put it side by side the other one and check it, and then we'll put the new one in. All right, see, there's the old one and there's the new one. Set them side by side. Make sure you get the one I was telling you. This one's marked front left, and that's what we've got. There's the front left. You're looking for these 2 pieces right here. Okay, that's the one for the brake, and that's the one for the ABS sensor. You make sure you get those right, otherwise you're going to do a whole bunch of work for nothing, because on the other side it's completely reversed. Okay, so I got the new one. I'm going to go ahead and put it up through the hole, get it prepared, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the 4 bolts on the new one. Okay, so I had my lovely wife help me push the new shock and strut up, and we started all 4 of the new nuts. There were 4 new nuts in a package, and they were attached to the spring, so you do get a new set of nuts with it. So I've got those in. I'm going to go ahead and torque them down. They torque down to 110 to 115 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll go ahead and put the cover back on. just snug those up with the regular ratchet. And then go ahead and go grab your torque wrench. And go ahead and hit that with your torque wrench. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and put that cover back on. The cover's a little bit tricky, so you really need to make sure you line it up. So I'll show you what to look for here in just a second. Okay, so the key for this going on properly is, now this fits in like this, all right? And there's this ridge, this is where it goes right in your windshield, underneath your windshield. Right there's the lip of your windshield, and it fits right in those two slots, okay? It doesn't fit under here. Okay, so you just want to slide it in underneath the windshield, above the windshield for here, below the windshield for here, okay? You can see where it'll match up on pieces. So you want to slide that in and then match it up and then set it straight down, because it has to go down on these posts. There's no posts on this side. There is a little catch right here that fits right into this cutout right here. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, but it takes a little practice. It took me a few times. So take your time and you'll be able to get it right. And don't force anything. That's never going to be good. Okay. Gotta get this out on the outside there, because this corner piece goes on the outside and not the inside. So you want to make sure you see how that slides in right there. That slides in underneath that, okay? And you need to do that while you're sliding up. See how that all matched in there? Then you should just be able to come straight down, and you'll feel it snap into place just like that, okay? And the holes will match up down here, and you know that you got it. So then go ahead and take your little plastic grommet and put it back in. This little grommet right here, make sure you don't bend it like I did. Okay, you can put the grommet in first by itself. Just like that. Take the end, and it's a pop in, so you can just pop it right in. That's all that holds that in. Okay, then you go ahead and grab your wiper blade and that nut, and hopefully you've got the rubber cover that I lost. I don't know exactly how I lost it. When you line this back up, make sure you have your windshield wiper in the same spot, and it goes just above the passenger side wiper. So you want that up just above that. Okay, and you push it down in. Push it right back in there. Make sure you can see that. And then just take that 14 nut, put it right back on. Okay, now there is a torque specification for putting that back on. I don't know what it is, and I don't use it. So what I generally do is I just take my ratchet and I put it back on with my 3/8 ratchet, and I call it a day. Just hand tight for me. Okay, so now you've got everything completed up on top. If you have that little plastic cover, you would go ahead and put that plastic cover on right now. I don't have it. I do have it on the other side, but not this side. So I'll go ahead. I'm going to slide this back over, and very gently, I'm just going to snap those back into place. Okay, just like that. And I've got the one missing, and I'm actually going to go pick me up another one, because I don't like that being loose like that. And I'll show you what that looks like. This is what that little grommet looks like. It's got, this goes into the rubber portion, and then it's got a standard push-in on the other side, and that's what I broke out. So you can do that later. You can go by your Mazda dealer afterwards and pick that up. So that takes care of everything on the top. Now we're ready to go back down on the bottom, and I'll show you how everything bolts in. I've got everything positioned now to line up the new strut and spring. So then I need to grab my punch. I use a round punch for it. That way you can just literally just drive it in there, and it will line up that bottom bolt for you pretty much. Take that, slide that in, just like that. Alright, and you can go and pop that out. Grab your other one. And I did put a little lube on that. Lock that up. Alright, these are heavy duty bolts, 120, 130 pound. So you can definitely crank these down when you're tightening them up. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the wrenches for that and go ahead and tighten them up, and then I'll be back and we'll go ahead and we'll just lock everything down. Alright, again, these are 19 millimeters. Okay, so when you go to torque these down, alright. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put this little snap back in for the ABS sensor. And just locks in, it just snaps in, locks in. Just like that. Okay, the brake caliper goes in over on this other side, and it has this little clip here. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that done. You can see my videos on brakes and all that stuff to see all that. And that's really all for the video. I mean, basically that takes you through step by step on what you need to do to change the shock out. And all you need to do for the other side is just mirror what you just did here on the left side. I will caution you that you make sure you get the left hand side on left hand and the right hand side of the right hand, because those brackets are different for holding those cables. And I've actually made that mistake and gotten the install all the way done and then realized I couldn't put the ABS sensor back on, and I couldn't put my brake line back in. So make sure you do that. So if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, or better yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I will put all of the links and everything in the remarks, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the remarks column as well. And I appreciate it, and you have a great day.